We good?
I make a motion that we come out of executive session.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, we'll move on to signing the warrants. Payroll warrant number 35 in the amount of $315.82.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
B payroll warrant number 36 in the amount of $323.35.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 And payroll warrant number 37 in the amount of $28,592.81.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Obviously not. Nobody else is in the box. The motion carries.
I had an aye in there.
And accounts payable warrant number 38 in the amount of $121,311.47.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Oh, wait, about the discussion. Anybody got any discussion on that?
I do.
Yep.
Okay.
EcoMaine monthly update for MSW tipping this month was $10,297.98, and recycling was $842.40. So I think that was a little bit better in recycling from last month, and a little bit better in trash too. And then Lindsay, do you know the JB Lock and Key 576?
Oh, that was to fix the vault door.
The vault door, okay.
And Madam Chair, I have one question about the Haley Ward expense for $10,000. Previously, we paid $8,710 to them. In both cases had something to do with the engineering on the Cousins Bridge on Dave Road. Will there be any more subsequent payments to Haley Ward?
So the total's gonna be 30,000.
Okay. And have we received any kind of deliverables from them yet, or is that still in process?
It's still in process.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. Motion carries. Alrighty, we don't have special offers or presentations, so public input. The public in attendance will have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Please use the podium to address the board, and please be respectful of others. And I will say, I know that we have we have had some emotionally charged people. This is a subject that a lot of people are kind of fired up about, and I understand that, but I will not tolerate disrespect of any kind. And I just wanted to put that out there, that you'll be gavelled down and asked to leave. So anybody, whoever wants to go first. No one?
Hi, my name's John Tibbetts. I own Tibbetts Farm in town and have some small kids that use Bunganut Field or plan to use Bunganut Field. And I know that the town's trying to cut costs by adding a fee for the little leagues to use the field. And I was wondering if there was any way to redo contracts or try to help that way. I have looked at the contract for the mowing now, and to me, I think there's some stuff that could be pulled out of that contract to try to save some of the town money. Right now, there's a spring cleanup in the contract, if that's something that the Little League would be willing to take over. They have mentioned that they do a spring cleanup day. There's a lot of fertilizer costs. There's a lot of mowing cost on that field. I do a lot of mowing. I know what my costs are on mowing. We're currently mowing close to 100 acres of solar field. So I think if the contract was rewritten a little bit, I think that the town could save some money there. I'm concerned with charging the Little Leagues, that people that already live in town, to use town property. To me, it almost feels like a tax on kids. And I pay enough in taxes on the 3 properties that I take care of now, that a $25 extra for my kid, I don't think is necessary. I think that we should consider alternatives, and I realize that you guys are working hard at doing this, and I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just bringing my concerns to the board. Looking at the contract, I think that you would get, if it was put out and advertised, I think conservatively you could cut that contract in half. I know my brother has a landscape business in town. We kind of looked over the contract with some minor changes. I think that he would be interested in bidding on it, or possibly myself. Like I said, we both mow. But I am worried about starting to charge, townspeople for stuff that their taxes should go to. All right, and that's all I have to say. You guys have any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Amanda Blaze. I'm a resident of Lyman. I've got 2 kids in the elementary school, a daughter in pre-K and a son in 1st grade. My son is about to start his 3rd year playing in MML. My husband is about to begin coaching as a volunteer for his 3rd year, because this is primarily a volunteer program. My son is incredibly shy. He doesn't make new friends well. He gets very nervous. This program has been crucial to his development. It has taught him confidence in himself. It has allowed him to make new friends and feel part of a team. And he is not the only child in this community who is benefiting like that. It's about a lot more than throwing a ball and hitting with a bat. Okay, these kids are getting so much out of this program. And if you raise the costs on the program, some of these kids will not be able to play. They will not be able to afford to play anymore. And no kid should be isolated from being able to participate in community sports because they can't afford to. That's so unfair. Also, as a taxpayer, I feel the same way. I've already paid for use of these fields. I pay for it in my taxes. So then to be told that my child's going to be denied use of these fields because we didn't want to pay extra money on top of that is very concerning to me. I have questions then about where our tax dollars are going. And I'll admit, I've never looked over the budget, but I am now curious. There are not a lot of amenities here. We don't have trash removal. I pay extra for that. We don't have a police station. We don't have water and sewer. How do we not have money left in the budget for community sports? It's $4,000. I have a hard time believing that there's not a cut that can be made somewhere to support this program. On top of that, I know that Buggenut's budget committee, they recommended about a $500 charge to use the field. So my question to you is, where did the $25 an hour come from? Like, is this just an arbitrary number that somebody threw out? Where did you come up with that?
That was a number that we discussed in many meetings.
Okay, but I mean, what was behind it? Like, was there some kind of analysis done and you said this is going to benefit us in this way if we charge this many dollars per hour?
We actually were looking at ways to bring revenue into the town that would benefit everyone. I think the baseball is a great thing. I love kids, but we have to serve all of our constituents, not just the kids. And so we were looking at ways to bring revenue in to the town because taxes go up frequently. I mean, there's things in the budget that we have no control over that go up also. And so we were looking at ways for revenue, and a lot of them are unpopular sometimes. Change is hard, but there's ways to overcome it, I think. And so I'd like to be able to have a conversation like we're having and figure it out, because I think Little League is important, but I also think that the elderly person who's struggling to pay their taxes because they keep going up there is also equally important.
I would agree that that is very important. I think that there are probably other ways we could cut costs, as was mentioned previously. And I want to know, are those being considered? Have they been considered?
We're
$53,000 for 2 fields seems crazy high. And I also could recommend a few contractors who would be able to do that work for you for a fraction of the cost. So it definitely seems like we have not looked through all avenues of ways to cut costs rather than continuing to basically tax us again. Because you're talking about not raising taxes, but you are. And I would argue that well-adjusted children who participate in sports actually do affect all other children that they go to school with. Because having confident, happy children makes other confident, happy children. They all affect each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Nicole. I live in Lyman as well, and I have a daughter in Little League. One of my questions was partly the $53,000. Has that been rebid out or looked at for those 2 fields? Because that is astronomical for mowing and fertilizing. And I'm pretty sure Little League does a spring cleanup already, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think that we should schedule a workshop for this particular subject and take a look at it and consider these things.
If I may clarify a little bit,
Yes,
Vic,
please do.
the $53,000 that I've heard twice so far is not just for mowing and fertilization. There are other bills. Actually, the whole park costs the taxpayer $79,000 a year. So there are other numbers worked into that. And to the woman's question in regards to how it came about, it started 5 years ago that we started discussing it. But the best information we received, I believe, came from the Y. I don't think we got accurate or any information from Massabesic or the soccer league. So using that, we had 900 hours, and the number was backed into, which if you do the math, 900 times 25, you'll get to see that we're far from $80,000.
okay, I guess I would still ask where a $25 an hour came from then. If it's still not covering the cost, then where does that come from? Because I know personally that flat fees were offered as donations, and there were multiple other emails and requests that went ignored about other ways to handle it. So
Most towns charge by the hour.
that's not true. I have a map of every single town in the Little League, and this is the
Well, I
only
mean,
town
Maybe it's not Little League, but most towns charge
for a public park.
for, yes.
Okay, so in the deed for this exact, the Bunganut lot, it reads that the parcels shall automatically revert to the state of Maine should the town of Lyman fail to care for the recreational park. So if you guys can't handle it, then maybe it should go to the state.
I mean, that's certainly an option.
I
but
think that
if
it would be
goes to
better
the
handled.
state, do you know what they do? State parks, you pay to get into a state park.
That's not true. There's multiple state. Do you pay to go to the Alfred Park? Do you
That's
pay
not
to
a
go?
state park.
I'm
That's a
saying,
town park.
I understand, but there are parks that are owned by the state or run by the state. You do not pay to get in them.
Well, you pay.
I-
You pay one way or another.
I mean, every state
the
park,
state.
Acadia, Sebago, Camp
This was given
Ellis.
on a grant, so you can't charge a fee on a federal grant that was given by the state. It literally says that in the deed. I have a copy of it. So I don't think that the state is going to go and charge for that. They're saying that you can't, and if you can't upkeep it, they will take it back. So maybe that's an option that,
I mean, we have some information here that Sanford charges $60 an hour for Airport Field, $60 an hour for Benton Park and Witham Street Fields. Blue and Fields, 60 an hour.
okay, but we're talking
So-
like our neighboring towns, the 6 towns that are in Little League, none of them charge that. Not one.
Well,
We're not
then-
talking a larger town like Sanford.
Well, you just said that no towns charge by
I
the
said no
hour.
towns in our Little League situation, so I believe it's 6 towns.
Yes, okay.
Not one
But
of them
when
does.
we started this, we are pulling information from many towns, not just the 6 in our district. We're pulling from, that's where we found that Biddeford, Sanford, they're charging by the hour to use their fields. That's
Right.
where we came up with that.
And so if they're charging 60, where did you get 25? But Dave is saying that it's still not going to make up for,
Correct,
the
because we're
amount.
not looking to be net zero off of 2 fields in the town. We're looking to reduce the burden slowly.
so it's going to go up is what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. If
Reducing the
you-
burden slowly, that would,
Yes, so we start at charging for the fields. And then we have other fields or if we had a volleyball field at Bungadot, we could then charge for the volleyball field to be used.
so you're
if we had-
essentially setting the precedent that you're
Okay, I
going to,
guess you go ahead and speak. I'm going to be done talking because
Okay.
you just want to keep interrupting.
okay.
Go ahead.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
sorry, ma'am, I didn't get your
Yeah,
last
I
name.
didn't catch your name.
Bateson.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Nick Hewitt. I represent Massabesic. The information that you got as far as the field use fees, did you separate Little League versus outside entities? So there's a bunch of travel ball teams that may use that field and that may be what they're charging. But I don't know if Sanford actually charges Little League for that field use. And that would be my recommendation is seeing if there's clarification there.
You are correct.
It is outside entities?
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes?
I just want to make it very clear that I don't think I'm stretching anything by saying there's no one on this board that opposes in any way the values that come in for children in participating in organized activities such as Little League. I myself, back in the days when Massabesic Little League was Alfred Lyman Little League, coached, umpired. I worked on Bungadot Field. I worked on Bernier Field. The value that volunteers put into the upkeep of those fields should be factored into anything that might be charged to any organization. So I think the idea of a workshop through which this can be discussed in detail with the understanding that the dollar figures that we are using have some degree of support and that we're all talking about the same amounts as well. There seems some variation in terms of the figures that are being out there in the public as to what the cost of anything is. I'd like to thank those who spoke tonight. Ms. Bastian, Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Tibbetts, Ms. Blaze, those who emailed their comments in from Lyman, Ms. Kilpatrick, Matthew, Mr. Lassard, Mrs. Eaton, Mrs. LaChance, Mrs. Cantera, Mrs. Fife, Mrs. Scott, Mrs. Felicetti, those who either live outside of Lyman or in their email didn't specify that they are residents, Mrs. Presley, Mrs. Stacy Adams, Mr. and Mrs. Quint, Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Cash, Mrs. Fecto, Mrs. Mary Adams, Mrs. Gilmore, and Mrs. Roberts. Now, thank you for all of your input on this matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Well said. Anybody else on the board have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few things if I may. So just for a background, first of all, I apologize for not being there to meet you. But I spent 10 years as president running youth sports organization. We had a $750,000 a year budget. So I understand the trials and tribulations of running a youth program, and I understand the financial burden on parents, to pay for it. I had owned Cousins School at one point, and for 2 seasons, the Massapetag Little League used the field, and they were not charged. So I'm just letting you know where I'm coming from, and I believe the board feels the same way. So I agree that anything to do with youth sports on a town field should be paid for by the town to improve and maintain. The problem is we don't have the tax base. So, the discussion on Facebook doesn't mention that when the board is elected, they take an oath to serve as the overseer of the poor. The poor are not only parents with children in sports, but it's also parents with children outside of sports. It's residents without children. And most of all, it is our elderly on a fixed income that can't afford the increases in taxes every year. The board is taxed with keeping all the residents in mind when making financial decisions. The budget is worked on and submitted to the town to be voted on. The select board and the town manager then implement the will of the people by following the town approved budget. I know some discussion was out there about how it works. I personally made the motion, and it was voted on, to have the budget committee review all expenditures every quarter. This is very transparent for all to see. So statements such as, the board and or town manager mismanaging town money is just plain false. It doesn't happen in today's world. But I'd like to recap how we got here. So 2 people that volunteered their time brought it to the attention of the board 5 years ago, and that we spent approximately $80,000 on Buggin Park. I found that to be a wake-up call. That was my first year as selectman. We've had many discussions publicly. We've had it on the agenda where it was discussed. We've had workshops, and we sent out surveys on what the town residents wanted to see at the park. And this has all to do with recreation. So the discussion that, we're not keeping it for recreation, that's not completely true. So the survey that went out, one of the questions was, what amenities would you like to see upgraded at the park? 54% wanted improved walking trails. 36% wanted small venues for concerts or festivals. 34% make the park accessible for winter activities. 33% increase the picnic areas. At 6%, the townsfolk wanted the ball field improved. So the feedback we get from surveys weigh heavily on decisions the boards make, because it is the residents that are asking for this. I had suggested that Massapequa Little League sit with us for a workshop. I said, bring your information and we'll bring the towns. I also said we could work something out. Not only did the board members of Massapequa not say yes to sitting down, in my opinion, they put out an inflammatory letter to achieve what is happening now. Just misinformation. At the time, MLL could have corrected some of the false information, such as the town does nothing for the fields, and MLL and its coaches do it all. The taxpayers of Lyman pay an average of approximately $79,000 a year to maintain the park. The cost to the taxpayer for the past 5 years, after all the reimbursements, all the fees, any donation, is $395,347. The cost to the taxpayer. Does that sound like the taxpayer of Lyman does nothing for the park? It doesn't sound it to me. It sounds like the taxpayers stand up for this park. I requested the information from the Soccer League and the Little League, excuse me, through the board 4 years ago to get us information. Personally, I've never saw any response. Now, in fairness, I don't even know if they ever received the request. I also believe the request was made by the Buckeye Committee. So obviously now we've heard from Massapequa Little League, and we received a letter for the first time that I'm aware of from MUSC today. Although it does not have specifics, it states the sheer number of hours the MUSC uses the fields make the cost prohibitive. So the board was provided with a number of 900 hours. That was for field use. That's the only information that we really had. We used that in the calculation of the hourly rate. No accurate number of children or what town they live in was ever disclosed. These sheer numbers to me would be very important, having to assess whether the fee or not having a fee at all is fair. But with all that said, I'd like to make an offer again to the board of the Massapequa Little League and extend it to the board of the MUSC to have an open workshop with the board. Bring all their information and the town will have theirs. And I further ask the board if you would consider any money spent on these fields, because it's such a hot topic, whether they stay the same or need to be increased or not funded at all. Go before the town at a special town meeting for a ballot vote so the will of the people can truly be heard. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else?
Well,
I do agree with Dave in a lot of the regards. I think he said it very well. I think this whole situation could have been handled better. I didn't appreciate being eviscerated over Facebook over this situation for the whole weekend. And this didn't have to happen. I don't believe that it should have went down like that. I feel like somebody, whoever wrote one of those letters, owes me an apology. Probably never get it, but that's okay. I am willing to work together. I'm willing to put that all aside because all that is emotion. I think everybody here that spoke today, I could hear emotion in your voice. People did a great job putting their emotion aside to be able to come together and have a conversation like we're having right now. And I appreciate that. I thank you very much for keeping it real and keeping our thing together. But I wish this would have been handled differently. But a clean slate is offered for that workshop. And so it's really, I think we should have a workshop anyway, but I'd really rather work together and maybe you all can learn and have some understanding of how things work and how we go about doing things. Because I will support this board 100% and the employees that work on this. There is not a bone in this, anybody's body in this that is corrupt, which I was called corrupt, and that we're misappropriating and doing all this stuff. It's not happening. I've been a part of boards that were not. This is the most transparent board I've ever sat on, and it's really good. And I'd like to just let you all know that a lot of the stuff that people were saying, and I'm not saying you said it or you said it or you said it, but as a collective, if the information in the letter would have been had more information in it, perhaps, that this wouldn't have happened this way. And I don't like it, but I am willing to move forward.
Shall we try to set a time for a workshop for?
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
I'll make calendars over here, sorry.
If I may, Vic, I think we need to reach out to soccer as well as Massabesic
Yes.
and get everybody on the same page. Because if we're gonna have a workshop, it really affects how many people are using this. So it's not just the Massabesic, but it's also the soccer league. So I'd like to reach out to both of them to see if they'll both come in, sit down. Let's put it on a spreadsheet. Let's talk about it and see where we can get.
I like that idea, but then there's also some other, I think Smash, and there's some other people that use the field also. And the Y had talked about some things before. So I don't know, do we do that? Do we get everybody in the room and hash that out, or?
Well, I think we have the hours for the Y. I think that the major portion of the fields now are taken up, and maybe I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, taken up by Massabesic and Massabesic Little League and the soccer club. But I'll go along with whatever you want to set a date now. That's fine.
Well, we could reach out,
Mhm.
to maybe send a letter to the entities and let them know that's what we want to do. We could set a date at the next meeting, or we could set a date now and tell them this is when the workshop is. We hope you can make it.
You know, you could do that also, Vic, and just ask for their information if they want to participate.
And can you say what information you're looking for?
I mean, does anybody know how many Lyman kids we're talking about? Does anybody know how many children we're talking about together? Do we know how many hours? Everybody, you know, are we using 900 hours? Should we be using 2,000 hours? We don't know.
Yes, I'm sorry, but we have to have that
That's
for
okay.
the YouTube.
So Holly Woldridge, she's on the town's Parks and Rec
Yeah.
committee. She sent an Excel spreadsheet with the hours, and you can input the $25 per hour times the how many. I think she figured out there's like the homeschool group would have to pay like $9,000 based on their hours. So she did email that over to the town manager. I think it was last month. And she also sent this, which shows the Little League and soccer enrollment and how many of those kids are from Lyman. So
Okay.
I can have her resend that.
Please.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Dave, can we set the date for the workshop, and then each of us as select board members come up with our questions that
Mhm.
we can then maybe give to Lindsay that can be forwarded to them so that they'll
Yes.
come with those answers? That
Yes.
way that workshop can be the most productive that night. We can, if they have questions for us, they can let us know so we can have time to investigate, research, whatever we need to do for that.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right.
How long of a space of time do you think is appropriate for notification and a ability to get all the information together? When are you thinking we should do this? Because it's the middle of February already.
I was going to say, I wouldn't go more than 2 weeks. I mean, we have, you know, we do need to consider the seasons that are about to take place.
Now, we have a workshop on the budget on Monday, correct?
Yes, the 24th.
Sometime later that week.
That's what I was thinking. That was your schedule.
27th?
The 27th? That's what I was gonna
Thursday.
suggest. That
Does that work for you, Dave, the 27th?
Yeah, that's fine.
I was
How
gonna
about-
say,
On a bump comp plan. There's somebody else using the meeting room, so I
Okay.
have the 25th and the 26th and the 28th.
Do we do a Friday night workshop while Jess is on vacation?
I hate to ask, but can we bump I might be able to get,
Oh,
Like-
okay, we have, March 4th and March. That's it, yeah.
I could do March 4th. You can't do Tuesdays,
yeah,
though, right?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are hard unless it's,
We can bump them. I'm sure they won't mind.
okay.
Yeah.
I can arrange for them to be able to use the library if that,
That's a perk.
if that works.
Yeah.
And so which day were you?
The
27.
27th.
27th?
Okay.
6.
Do you like 6 or can people
Earlier.
make 6? Is that something that's common or earlier or later or? I don't really, later. You wouldn't get much accomplished.
No.
I did want to just put out there that this is the survey that Dave was talking about that went out in 2023. Question number 1, we received 141 answers back. 12 of those said that they currently use Bunganup Park for the ball field and the sports complex. Then we had choose the top 4 amenities you'd like to see updated, improved, and added to Bunganup Park. We had 9 people say ball field improvements. So you can see we're getting information from a very small amount of people when we put out these surveys. This is what we have to go on. We don't know that, the 40 people we've received emails from this past week didn't take the survey, didn't see the survey. But this is what we're working on. We've been talking about this for over a year from 2023. And so this is where we get our information. If people aren't able to get the information, this is what happens. We've been talking about it and we go and we implement something that we think like, okay, nobody's going to have a problem with it because 12 people cared about the field. 9 people use it currently. So we go. I greatly appreciate the fact that the parents sent the emails, let us know how they feel about it. That's why I got into doing this because I wanted people to get involved. If you don't already sign up for the town emails, I would recommend signing up. Everything gets sent out to parents, gets sent out to anybody that subscribes to it. You would be part of the surveys. You would be part of knowing, oh, there's a budget workshop. There's a budget committee meeting. There's a select board workshop. So I just encourage that there's a QR code out there. If you're not already signed up to receive the emails, just give it a scan on your way by.
I have one follow-up question I'd like to ask, if that's okay.
Can you come here?
Honestly, it's great to hear that you're going to do this meeting. That's fantastic. I do have one question. I haven't heard a single board member acknowledge, though, that there have been several suggestions that we could cut costs or even talk about, yes, maybe we will look into that. Are you saying that's not a possibility?
No, we're not saying that at all. What
Okay.
We hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to make
We're-
sure that was on the table, that we are going to look into possibly
We're-
reducing
if-
those expenses.
If I may, the complexity of it is the town has a contractual obligation.
And when does that expire, Dave?
I don't know,
Okay, so we can look into
I'm
that then
sorry.
and see.
but it's not this year. Now, I don't know if it can be amended. Maybe it can. I don't remember the details of the contract, but
There's a 30
that's
day
why
notice.
that's why I don't think anybody really jumped on it, but it was brought up as a suggestion, and we certainly will look into it.
Okay, good. And the 30-day notice, that's good to know because that would give us plenty of time to find somebody else between now and the summer and open it up for bids.
There's also, there's a procedure that has to be followed for that.
Well, I would
And
assume.
so it takes time, but we're in budget season now.
Perfect.
And so
Excellent.
it's a contractual obligation in the budget season now for what it is right now. And that's,
Okay, so you're saying you'd have to review it for next year?
it would probably go down next year.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's,
I can't speak to that exactly, but we are in budget season and there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts.
okay. Well, I would just like to, I just wanted to confirm that we are going to look into that as an option.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that people are bringing suggestions that we
Yeah.
don't know about or that can be looked into. That's why I wanted to start with the workshop and it's a
Move
whole process, the workings of it.
Yes. Well, I look forward to learning more about it. So,
I'm
Thank you.
appreciate that you want to.
Yes.
Stacy Adams. I'm a MLL board member from Limerick. I appreciate the information from the survey, but I just also wanted to put it out there that MLL and MUSC are made up of 6 towns, I believe. So I understand that the numbers aren't big from your survey, but MLL, last year, we had over 440 kids from multiple towns that are part of this.
Mhm.
So, so I just wanted to bring that up because I know what you're saying that 9 people or 6 people, a lot of kids use this field. And a lot of Lyman kids that aren't maybe in softball are using other towns' fields. So I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted to make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams, thank you.
Well, do we have any more public input? Well, hearing none. Well, we will move on to in the meeting. We have mail in the York County Sheriff Report.
Mhm.
If you have time to review that? So, unfinished business, item number 4. Is it item number 3?
Thank you.
In the packet, it's number 3, and on the agenda,
Yeah,
it's
your
number
packet's gonna
4.
be a little
Yeah,
different.
we're going to be off tonight.
Yes, that's okay. I just, it took me a second to catch it. I apologize. Franchise agreement update.
No new updates since last time. so.
Thank you. YMCA discussion regarding 2025 contract.
I did speak with Andy from the Y. He is going to take the changes to his board at the YMCA to review. I'm not quite sure when that'll happen. I'm thinking it's going to happen soon. He did say from his perspective, they're still concerned about the inconsistency of their financial arrangement and collecting the gate fees and stuff like that. So, but he's going to take the changes to his board, review it, and get back to me. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have the RFP, Property Assessment Equalization Project discussion updates.
no new updates on that. I reached out to Lori, but last meeting we discussed, she sent some information out to them so they can garner a better idea of what they're looking at. So she hasn't heard from them yet.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So my understanding is that RCS is only providing cost tables. Is that correct?
No, because they talked about doing some of the on the ground work.
Okay.
Assessing, just getting caught up, like backlog permits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of, we've initially talked about, can they cut the cost down a little bit? But then, and Lori talking about the scope of where she's at, it doesn't look like they might be able to cut the cost on that. So they're still just kind of reviewing our material to make sure what we're asking them to do is in line with the price they're giving us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Review, approve contingency agreement land swap for the town hall expansion.
Yeah, so I wanted to so I had the neighbors sign the agreement. Just want to make sure we did that before we moved into surveying the property. Because we're gonna be covering the cost of that. And now I just need your guys' signature.
This is a big step.
It is,
Finally, I mean, we got the approval from the voters to do this
I know.
on the plan swap, so
So I guess we're still moving kind of slow. So from this, once we get that done and we have the survey done, we'll get the deed description to the lawyer. And then we'll get that over to the registry of deeds. And then we'll just continue working with the architect on finalizing the plans. And they're gonna come up with probably a scope of, what it's gonna take to get everything permitted and.
nice. Cool. Well, it's nice to just take a step forward.
Mhm.
We've been standing, it feels like, for a little bit.
We're signing this tonight?
Yes,
If we're, okay. So do you have a copy in front of you?
I do.
You want mine?
What's that?
Just on page 3, under number 4,
Mhm.
the parties hereby agree that the closing shall take place by April 1, 2025, days of receiving the town meeting approval. Is there
That should be.
a something wonky reading there?
Mhm.
It's like the
I'm not sure what-
cursor jumped, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. So just before we sign, I would, if that,
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I'm not sure if there was it was either by April 1st or
Mhm.
within so many days of receiving the town meeting approval. I'm not sure how that was supposed to be
This is
worded.
both.
It's either or, either one you want.
2025
Yeah,
days, yeah.
I mean, there's still gonna be the deed, so there won't be any conveyance of property until the deeds are
Mhm.
done and they're signed.
Okay.
This was more like, I didn't want to spend, money from the architect or the engineers on surveying
Yep.
any more land until I understood from them they were comfortable moving forward.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
They basically expressed they're comfortable moving forward.
okay. So then that isn't something that we need to worry about.
Amber, you're so, you pick up these things so quick. I just admire that.
Just
I
reading.
did on the budget committee too. But,
If it makes me go, what? What did I just read? And I'm like,
well, aside from that, is there anything in there that concerns you about not signing it?
no, nope, just that.
Good.
Great. So that is a review and approve contingency agreement land swap for town hall's expansion. Do we approve it?
Need a motion to do so?
Sure.
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Next item is the review approved committee handbook. We've had plenty of time to review that and look at it.
So moved.
Can I second it?
Oh, I'll
Sure.
second.
Yes.
Okay, I will second that. And is there any discussion? I just gotta find my discussion point.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
First of all, Lindsay, thank you very much for making the references to the appendices and the body. On page 10, should there be mentioned reference to Appendix J there? Because as it stands right now in italics, see also Town of Lyman Personnel Policy Handbook, Section 3. But unless I missed it, I don't think there's any other reference to Appendix J in the narrative.
The Appendix J, I
Mhm.
believe, is the acceptable use policy and,
Hmm.
oh, no.
Code of
you're saying
ethics.
Town Lyman Municipal Code. Okay. Yep, I can add that in there.
Okay. Mhm. And
Did you have anything?
I did, yeah.
Do you want a second?
Was that all you had, Joe?
Just one other thing
Oh,
on page
sorry.
18, my apologies. Third paragraph there, we do have the deletions of first sentence. Funds that are raised through fundraising events or donations for special programs or initiatives must be approved by the select board prior to collection and approves their placement, maybe just say, and placed into an expendable account. Just one little,
I think, so I had the treasurer look at that because of legalities, so I don't think she can put anything into an expendable account until you guys approve it. If we collect donations, it ends up in your general account.
okay.
So
I'm
if you
saying-
want it specific for like a playground, like Parks and Recs did, you guys have to kind of approve that before she can do anything with it.
I think there has to be a vote by the
Yeah.
board for any of those.
Yep.
reserve
All I'm saying
accounts.
is just the way the language is. Prior to collection approves their placement. Is that the way it reads right now?
Well, she's saying prior to collection and specifically for placement into an expendable account. So she's just saying, if you want it to go in a specific account, that's where that expendable account comes in, where I have you guys
Mhm.
sign it off, and it'll specifically say it's gonna go into X account for X project.
Okay.
That's
Because-
why, I'm sorry.
I mean, you could say it goes, I mean, she needs specifics, because then once you put
Right.
it in the account and you guys wanna spend it, we need to know what are you spending it on.
Well, that's why we need to specify accounts sometimes when we make
Well,
motions to
okay.
spend.
Okay, I
I
got it.
know it's worded a little wonky, but
Yep, I see it now.
My concern is to update the purchasing procedures to include town manager instead of board of selectmen
yeah,
and that, and we talked it, so that's my only issue.
yeah, we're updating the personnel policies because we have to include the Paid Family Leave Act in there. So we're currently working on that, and then I'm gonna be adding the purchasing policy updates, and the social media one also references select board and all that. So those things will get updated. I just rather would do it one and done with the personnel policy.
Yeah, no, I understand. I know, that's a piece that I never thought about, that this was gonna change so many things. And you just did that personnel policy.
Yeah, they changed, yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. I read it 4 times. That's enough for me.
All right,
On page 16, under the Main Freedom of Access Act, should we put in there a requirement for committee members to take the FOA? Workshop?
State statute indicates which committees and boards are required to take FOA training. You can certainly make that, a standard of practice, for everybody. It's part of the reason why I just put in the whole, I know it seems like a lot, but I put the whole information package in there.
Mhm.
Because basically, to qualify for the FOA training, you could technically read the FAQ on the main website.
Yeah.
And then basically sign a sheet that says you read it, or you can take the webinar through MMA, which I think is really informational as well. So it's totally up to you guys. Like, it's kind of, you appoint committees and volunteers, so whatever standard you want to hold them accountable for, if you think that's the route you
I
want
don't
to
think
go.
it's gonna hurt, even if we just say, just look over these, the FAQs that are on there. I feel like that's one of the things that we hear about with committees is that they don't understand that whenever if you're on a committee and you start, like a text or an email, even from your personal to somebody else, and you're talking about town business, now that is now town records. And that is, somebody can FOA that, and you would have to turn that information over. So I just think, like, if we put that as a requirement and they were aware of it, it wouldn't come as a surprise down the road
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, and it covers, I think, open meeting laws is
Mhm.
another important one to cover, just so people understand that, you know, if you're on a committee or you're doing, you know,
Mhm.
committees and boards in particular, you guys have to have all your meetings in public
Right?
and can't make any decisions outside of that. But
Nope.
so,
And then on page 17, the very last part, committees can submit reports regularly. Can we change that to committees will submit
Oh, yeah.
reports
It
regularly?
says may also, yeah.
that one I went back and forth on only because, you know, I was thinking of like the cemetery committee, who might be out there, they're cleaning up cemeteries.
Mhm.
They're not necessarily making plans or, you know, typically they're just putting out flags and, you know.
Mhm.
So I thought like for some committees, they may not have anything to report regularly each month. You know, maybe like quarterly or
Yeah,
That-
like
well,
quarterly.
once
That'd
a
be
year.
nice.
Um,
Even if there's no report, it would be nice to know that it's still out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think it pretty much communicates that committees can submit reports regularly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, whatever kind of fits.
Well, I mean, for me, if somebody says you can do this, or then my mind says,
I-
well, then that means I can
You don't
also
have
make
to.
the choice
I agree with
to
you.
can't do that. So,
You
yeah,
guys-
no, I'm good.
You
I don't,
guys can request stuff too. So I think as stuff comes up, like you guys have asked about the IT committee before, you know, and so you can request, you can say, hey, let's reach out to the IT committee and say, can you come in and give us an update? We haven't heard from you in a while, you know.
okay.
I mean, maybe I could put that in there, you know, or the select board, you know, upon request may solicit a report.
Yeah. Okay. And then I have a few, just like few, like, that I can just email you, Lindsay, like a period here or whatever.
Yep.
Like, add a word there or remove something. So that was it for me.
We made a motion and moved and seconded, and this was discussing. So how do we go about, do we, with the changes?
Mhm.
How do we have to change the motion?
I can add with changes from discussions.
Is that good with everybody?
It is.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
As amended.
Okay, so we ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That means there's nobody opposed, so the motion carries. Thank you. And item F, Joseph Wagner, discussion age-friendly roundtable held on 2/10/25.
Okay. On that Monday, we had a very, I think, productive meeting. Had a presentation of the survey results via a slide presentation. Thank you, Karen, for taking notes on that, and that's distributed to everyone here. It's in the packet as well online. Just a couple things that stand out. Reference is made a couple times over to the Southern Maine Agency on Aging. Karen and I had the good fortune of meeting with Mary Hadlock over there just last week. Fantastic facility over on Barrow Road in Biddeford. This is available in the vestibule. All that is available. Adult day care program, which we saw in person there, which was just fantastic. A number of services that are available, which I encourage everyone to take advantage of. They've also opened up another facility at the Nasson location over in Springvale. Mention here was made of personal legal planning. Just kind of throw out there, along with checking out Southern Maine Agency on Aging. Legal services for Maine elders is a good resource as well. Bottom line, one thing that I think we should consider is forming an ad hoc committee for the age-friendly community to keep the discussion going. to have a representation from all of the committees that we have to make sure that there's coordination, mutual support of efforts in this endeavor. And so
You don't think there would be a need for a long-standing committee?
maybe in time, they'd start with an ad hoc.
Yeah.
And then if it graduates into a standing committee, fine.
Would the ad hoc committee like develop the actual like comprehensive, is it age-friendly plan? You know how when you go on
Yes, the action
AARP?
plan itself, yes, I
Yeah.
think that'd be its principal responsibility. Again, open invitation in terms of membership. Again, preferably with folks on the giving committee and all the other committees represented.
So if you guys, you can mull it over, or the way we've done it before with ad hoc committees or other committees is we developed like a project statement that the board reviewed. And then once that was finalized by the board, then we would put out and start soliciting people to get on the committee.
And then it includes an end date usually?
Yeah, and because ad hoc's hard, so what I did with Bunganet was I just put, the end date was, a year from the first person that got appointed, because it could take a few months to get somebody appointed.
Mhm. So put together a project statement.
Is that what the board wants to do?
If that's
Okay, then.
Joe's recommendation,
Yeah.
he's been involved in it
Give it a
the
go.
most.
So I'll write a project statement, because that's what the charter says.
All right, then.
Perfect. Is there anything further, Joe?
That's it, unless anyone has any questions on the notes.
We have the fire department all hands report. We're up over 130 calls for the year so far. We did meet the fire commission meeting and we discussed budget stuff, and of course with some of the mandates from the salaries and all that stuff, just like we're facing in the town, we're facing that in the fire department as well. We are talking about a plan to be able to staff 3 people most hours of the week and day and year and month. And we're talking about also some needs for, there's a need that would be a working officer. Because we have a chief, we have some, may need, it wouldn't be administrative, it'd still be working too, just like Chief DeRoss. But none of that's finalized yet. It's just things.
Do you have a date when you guys are thinking like that we'll do the joint
I
budget?
don't, but I should be able to try to nail one down at the next meeting, which is in the beginning of March.
Madam Chair, my apologies. Was there any set date in terms of delivery on the new vehicles?
We're still out, probably, I think it's gonna be around, it's supposed to be around April, 1st of April
Okay.
or so.
I don't mean to be facetious. Does anyone know how the ice fishing derby went?
It looked like,
It looked
it
like
looked like there was a lot of people out there, yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
And that was the day before the storm.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
that was good that it worked out like that. Any questions, Dave?
No, I'm good.
All I can hear is the doorbell over there, but that's not you, is it?
Nope.
Alrighty, we have an excise report from the town clerk and, the expense report from the treasurer. I'm getting ahead of myself now. Here, moving on to item number 6, new business. Discussion regarding policy for grants.
So I kind of put this together, and I just want to make sure we're not like double dipping on grants if we have, multiple people sort of looking into a lot of things, which is great. After working with Amber, I really liked how she coordinated and got all the logistics and, just kind of got everything figured out before applying for the grant so that if we were awarded or when we get awarded,
Nice.
we're ready to like hit the ground running and things are just already in place and who's responsible for what. So that was my intention on just putting together a procedure that can be consistent and just flows really good.
Nice. I like I think that it's pretty thorough.
I'll probably add it as an appendice to the committee handbook, but
Do we have to vote on this?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry,
Here.
the second paragraph, third line, after responsible.
Let me see.
4.
Yeah, can we add 4?
Yes.
Okay. And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the grant application and management policy.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask if anyone is in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
That's 4 in favor, so there's none opposed and the motion carries. And we have Karen Kane, proposed grant for Bunganut Park. Hi,
Karen Kane, Pines Lane. So there's an AARP Challenge Quick Grant that is available now for up to $25,000. And we had reached out to the Bunganut Committee, but because the Bunganut Committee is disbanding basically in April, it was suggested to go with Parks and Rec. So I met with the Parks and Rec Committee this past week. Yeah. And we discussed moving forward with that grant to purchase tables, chairs, benches for Bunganut Park. Being a quick grant, the submission date is March 5th. The deadline's March 5th. The award is made June 25th, and then all of the work needs to be completed by December 15th. So we figured these things are simple enough, the way you can get them ordered, get them installed and be done with it and make a nice upgrade to the park.
Nice.
So I think the numbers are kind of floating right now still, but we're probably in the ballpark of about $21,000 that we will be requesting. And if we don't get the AARP Challenge Grant, our request, our submission will automatically revert to our local AARP chapter, which is Lifelong Maine, who we got the RAMP grant from. So there's actually 2 opportunities to get this grant.
Nice.
That's nice that you don't have to fill out all that paperwork again. It just rolls right up.
Yeah,
What I like
yeah.
is the choices in the tables and chairs and stuff and the what they're made out of.
Yep.
I like that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know Joe and I met with Lindsay earlier today because we knew she was putting in a new policy and we wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. And she had mentioned some other tables that might be available, like from Lowe's or Home Depot. And the reason I went with these, they're more commercial, more industrial, heavier weight. I think they'll stand up better than something that you'll get from the box stores around here. So,
I agree.
yeah.
I
So
appreciate your efforts.
Are all of these items to be purchased? Are these all things that we order them, we get them in, we can just pick the Adirondack chair up and just go set it at Bunganut?
So
Or is
no,
there
so I
things that-
consulted with Holly and on having Parks and Rec be responsible for receiving that, assembling it, installing it, maintaining it, storing it, yada, yada, yada. And how many volunteer hours she thought that that would take because that will help us with in-kind support.
Mhm.
Not that it's necessary, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. So Holly did a great job of estimating what it would take to do all of that. And Parks and Rec will be responsible for it.
And that's not in this.
No, but it's here if you want it.
You have copies?
Yeah.
You have copies for everyone?
No. I'm really cheap with paper and ink, sorry.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, we need to go ahead to just move forward with it?
I think we.
Do we need to make a motion?
I believe so.
Think
It's
so.
totally up to you guys. I mean, I'm fine with it.
What does the policy say?
What I generally
Okay.
wanted was just, if it was like a big project or plan that, you guys kind of, be able to review it, if that's something you think is in the best interest of the town and you want to move forward with it. I think this is manageable, in my opinion. And so I think the two things I was gonna work on with Karen was I was gonna get how many people historically or on average have used the park, which I have some data from the Y, and the TIN number. So
Yeah, the rest of the application is finished.
So I didn't put in the policy, you guys had to make a motion, but I wanted you to be a part of, like, understanding what kind of projects are developing. So that you can have some feedback and input on
You want
it
to
as
see
well.
the,
Well, I do like that everything is like plastic. I mean,
Composite.
Composite.
it's
Composite,
composite,
yes.
yes, thank you. I was trying to okay, not plastic.
But it is.
So it's not something that we're gonna have to replace, every few years, paint it or,
if
It'll
it
be
gets
easier.
destroyed by accident, it won't rot.
yeah.
You might have to secure it, though.
In the wind, we've.
No, from being, walked out of the
Oh,
park.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Talked about that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Adirondack chairs are folding, so it'll be easier for storage. And one of my concerns was how light are they gonna be? So I compared them to some Pollywood chairs that I know are heavy and they're about the same weight, so that's
Yeah.
good.
We'll just put little air tags on them somewhere.
I was gonna
Mm.
Just track them.
Maybe we should.
Oh, yeah, if there's, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, see that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion to submit.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Holly, did you want her to add chains and locks to the?
I think that might be a good idea, like we have all the benches and picnic tables over here, all chain and lock.
Hmm.
Can you just-
Okay.
All right. Any more discussion? You got anything, Dave?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a motion. All right, and I guess I'm the new business. Discussion regarding developing a select board onboarding new board members. Last fiscal, when the fiscal year started and we had the election and stuff, one of the things that has bothered me and still bothers me, and I'd like to not repeat it, is I'd like to come up with a procedure for that first meeting. I would have loved to have been able to discuss who wanted to be chair, who wanted to be vice chair, who wanted to do things, who was interested in it, and to be able to discuss that and at least say that. And we get in there and somebody goes, I make a motion to this, and it's just, I think it's a little bit, the way we do it, I think is archaic and should be fixed. So I think we should come up with a policy for that meeting, decide who runs it in advance, what, even if that's the only thing on the agenda, I don't know. And I'm not proposing that we decide everything on this tonight, but it's still, I'm still thinking about it, that happened. And the other thing is, we have to make sure that those of us that are on the board, even if we're coming up for for the election and our term is going to be over. I didn't think it was fair to the town manager that some of the people that were new to the board when we did her review, they didn't see her performance the way some of us saw it all the way from the beginning of that term.
Mhm.
And so I'd like to have that be part of it to rectify as well. And I don't really know how to go about doing that unless we set a date for the review. But those are the things that I would like to see fixed and worked on. I know we got a whole bunch of other things in front of us, and this may not seem like a pressing need, but it's February already, and June will be here before we know it, blank.
Mhm.
And so I would love if you guys would think about that, or I'd like to hear if you think I'm just crazy, because that's up for debate also.
I think it's a great idea. I think I would just like, if we could just table this until we get some of the other stuff that we're dealing with
Yeah.
right now out of the way.
But I also wanted to bring it up too,
But-
just so that we could think about it.
Yeah, start writing down things that we,
Yeah, just
what
kind
would
of
have been helpful when, like, I came on as a new person. So, yeah, I can
some suggestions for further discussion. I mentioned before, instead of the new members being sworn in at the town meeting, have them swear in at the beginning of the fiscal year instead. So there's a bit of an orientation transition session there. Maybe a preliminary workshop to discuss the distribution of authority on the board in advance of that first meeting in the new fiscal year. And as you're suggesting, Vicky, something along the lines of just an understanding that the town manager's review would be done in advance of the beginning of the new fiscal year, so that those who have been on board and have a full appreciation for her performance through the course of the time that they've been on the board can be
Review-
reflected.
Sorry. The review process is in your personnel policy. I think it's been wonky because we just did mine not that long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we-
it is in there, and we had put in there, I think it was like January or something. It was for all employees.
Yeah.
Mine's just skewed because
because it went the
Well,
it
first
came in
year.
like really
Yeah.
late, so. But we can definitely do another one.
And, well, I would also like to say that this was a suggestion, I think, that originated with Joe in the beginning when all that stuff happened, and some of the points that you had made, I thought was good ideas, and that's where this spiraled out of control and the gerbil fell off the wheel and everything. But I'm still thinking about it. That's all. If
Table
You-
it.
Well, we should table it for a while until we get through a few things. I don't think this will take a whole long
No.
time to figure out, but I wanted to put it on people's radar.
Mhm.
So if we want to create a workshop at some point soon after after the next budget one and after this workshop with the
Mhm.
things, we can figure it out then, like sometime in March, we could come up with it.
Yeah.
Or even April.
End of March, beginning of April. I think that gives us time.
Does that work?
Move to table?
Yeah, do
Yeah.
you want me to just table it to the next meeting? Because then your next meeting's like March 3rd.
Yeah,
So
we
you'll
could do
have
that
two
too.
workshops next week and then your regular meeting, and not that you're gonna decide anything, but just
Right.
keep the discussion kind of.
Or we could put it on the agenda for the second meeting in March, because we're gonna have the two workshops and the
Mhm.
thing right on top of each other. What do you want to do?
We have Jessica's input too.
Gary?
She'll be here at the next meeting, regular.
Yeah,
meeting.
let's put it on.
Isn't there something we could appoint her to, because she's not here?
Let's put her on the age-friendly committee.
yeah, ad hoc, yeah.
Ad hoc
Chair.
committee.
Alrighty.
Okay.
What do you think, Dave? Does that work for you?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, and we'll move on to the meeting minutes, which is
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There anyone opposed? That was 4-0, so the motion carries. So we have to, signatures?
Just have to Sign, yeah. Find a pen, that's not-
This I don't know how to do because Jessica always does this, so I just get them and I sign them.
You don't have to, I didn't even put a committee handbook in there, never mind.
Excuse me?
I'll make the changes to the committee handbook, so I'll be at the next meeting.
Okay, so we don't sign that one?
Right.
All right, this is the grant application one.
Lindsay, I'll leave my copy here.
That one.
Okay.
We could just highlight it in green and I made a little note of what.
Okay.
Go that way. There we go. It's the AP warrant. Come on, one at a time. I'm gonna load you up.
Okay, that's right.
It's a good thing Dave's in the box. I just encroached on his line a little bit there.
That's all right.
Okay.
That is.
Joe has to sign this one, and then these are done.
All right, cool.
And then I don't think I signed this one.
Yeah, I'm going this way.
Just-
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, I did sign. Yes, that one's.
Thank you. Three there. And the minutes. 3 there. Looks good from my house.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That's 4-0. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all
you
for
very much,
coming.
everyone.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll see ya.
Bye, Dave.
Thanks for coming. Good ideas.